Jon Jones, arguably the greatest MMA fighter of all time, gets retired at a post-fight press conference in Azerbaijan. So that's what this episode will be about. But before we get into it, let me give you a quick rundown in how we got here, how we got to this point, how Tom Aspinall became the undisputed heavyweight champion in 2025. But before we get into things, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel and check out our Spotify linked below. So let's give you a quick rundown. March 2023, Jon Jones moves up to heavyweight, defeating Cyril Gane after his insane light heavyweight run, becoming the undisputed champion. Then in October of that same year, he was scheduled to fight Stipe, but he tore his pec, had to get postponed into 2024. But in November 2023, UFC booked an interim heavyweight title fight between Tom Aspinall and Sergey Pavlovich at UFC 295, which Aspinall won via first round KO. Then he defended his interim title, something we don't see very often, in July of 2024. So we had an interim heavyweight champion this time. But then in November, Jon Jones returned, beat Stipe, all this, with Aspinall as a backup fighter. So this is kind of where all of it started in my head, right? After this, after Jon Jones defeated Stipe was kind of the last thing he had to get through. And then Jon Jones defeated him. So we all thought it would be Tom Aspinall next, right? It had to be Tom Aspinall next because that's how interim titles work. You don't defend an interim title, especially more than once. You fight the champion. But we weren't getting that, you know? Dana White was repeatedly saying the fight was going to happen. He's quoted as saying,
The heavyweight fight will happen. Just relax. I'll announce that soon.
Jon Jones wanted to delay his training time a little bit. Aspinall was clearly frustrated. He just wanted to fight for the title. He didn't care if it was Jon or not, but he just felt like Jon was holding up the division. So by June of this year, it was pretty clear that something was going to happen soon. I think we've all felt that before International Fight Week, something was about to boil over. It's been long enough. Tom Aspinall's been on the sideline for about a year now. Jon Jones hasn't fought, obviously since then. So it's been weird. We've been waiting for something to happen. And yeah, Jon Jones is done. What I heard from Ariel Helwani was that the UFC offered him big money in the range of $30 million to take this fight. He would not take this fight. Tom Aspinall is the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. That's the rundown. This might be the first breaking news episode on this show. We have a lot to talk about here, but I think it's so harmful just because of the delay that we've had. I think if Jon Jones had beat Stipe and then been like, hey, I'm done, I know these guys are coming up, but I'm done. I feel like his legacy is fine. I feel like he is still cemented. And I think that this doesn't change it that much, but I think it's just been so long and drawn out. And Jon Jones kept saying stuff like, I'm living my best life. Does this look like someone who's ducking? And it's like, Jon, if you don't care, why do you keep interacting with him? The fact that it took so long and that there was so much back and forth and Jon Jones kept kind of pushing the blame onto the UFC, and I think that part of it is the UFC's fault, but I also do think that there is a responsibility on Jon Jones to do this earlier. He called Dana White and retired, right? He could have done that before. If he really made this decision a long time ago, a lot of people were speculating, why didn't he retire before? Why hold up this division for this long when we have one of the greats in the heavyweight division, one of the most highly skilled fighters that we've seen in that division ever in Tom Aspinall? And I think that a lot of this could have been avoided if it were just handled better. I don't think that it's necessarily all the UFC's fault or all Jon Jones' fault, but I think everybody's a little bit at fault, and Tom Aspinall was the victim. The reason I say it affects Tom Aspinall's legacy too is I'm just thinking 3 fights down the road. Let's say Tom Aspinall fought Cyril Gane, beat him, then he rematches Volkov again, beats him, and then let's say Jailton Almeida makes a run. I think those 3 wins in a row do less for his legacy than one win over Jon Jones. And I don't think that that's that controversial to say. A win or even a loss against Jon Jones, just the fact that that fight would have happened in that division would have given it so much life, I feel like. And I think it's really hard to miss out on the Jon Jones fight and then say, it's Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane. Good fight, right? Exciting fight. I'm excited to see it, but I don't know, not nearly Jon Jones. And it's going to be a lot harder. And maybe this is Jon's point, It's going to be a lot harder for Tom Aspinall to claim heavyweight GOAT and, just whatever he wants in that division without a guy like Jon Jones standing in front of him. Tom Aspinall's already beat everybody in the top 5 there except for Cyril Gane. Tell me a name on that list of top 10 that you would pick out and be like, man, that fight is so huge for Tom Aspinall's legacy. That guy has made his way up. That is not a reality. Jon Jones, objectively the GOAT, like he has done it, if you're not including the steroid use and all that, whatever. His retirement was announced because a reporter asked him a question at UFC Baku. You know what I mean? What other great in any sport gets their retirement announced by the commissioner of the whole company that they've been fighting at and they made their name in for, at a post-fight press conference of a fight night that is in a different division? I mean, it just blows my mind. And I think that it shows that, like, I'm not saying that the UFC is disrespectful to their stars. Not what I'm saying. Obviously, star power is still important. But I just think it still shows that, like, the UFC does not need any of these people. The UFC has not needed a guy like Jon Jones in a long time. What the UFC knows they need is their brand, is viral moments. I don't think that they need to prop up these kind of stars anymore. I think it's fair to say that, like, we couldn't really even expect more from the UFC at this point. You know what I mean? Like, they did what they know works. Dana White announces half the biggest fights in the world on his Instagram, right? Do you remember when he announced Michael Venom Page's UFC signing at a press conference? Like, this happens so much. And so I'm just, like, I am annoyed as a fan, but I'm not that surprised. MMA retirements don't tend to stick. We have a lot of examples of that happening, but this one does feel like it has been drawn out enough. And, Jon Jones did say stuff like, I haven't trained in 6 months, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it would be a good way to end this segment with just a little quick rundown of Jon Jones' career, because I feel like a lot of the talk today has definitely been kind of anti-Jon Jones a little bit, and I think that's fair based on the circumstances, but I feel like we do got to give props to a legend, So just some of his accolades. Made his UFC debut in 2008 against Andre Gusmao. Wow, that's crazy. UFC 87, unreal. So he defeated Shogun Rua in 2011 to become the youngest champion in UFC history at 23. In his first title reign, he beat legends like Quentin Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Gustafsson. That was an insane war. Glover Teixeira. Obviously, he's had his controversies. We don't really need to get into those. He returned in 2018 after a lot of those controversies happened to reclaim the title, beat some great guys, moved up, did what he did at heavyweight. So got to give props to, if not the GOAT, one of the GOATs in the sport. And it will be sad not to see him again. All right, well, that was episode 32. Different one for you here, but we felt like we had to get something out just on this whole situation. We hope you guys enjoyed and will continue with us here as we get more episodes going. Please follow. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're going to be on all platforms. Please check that out. The link is in our description. I'll pop it in the description of this episode as well. So, yeah, thank you. We're out.